Like I said, I wanted to sort of start from scratch. What I usually do when I start making music is I work like from a sort of a sound folder. Usually I make a new folder every month with just some recorded sounds, some samples that I really like. Usually also some stuff that comes from older tunes of mine. I do recycle a lot of my own material. I always sort of bounce stems from old tracks and stuff and sort of reuse them in new tracks. So usually I have like a little bit of a sample folder. Maybe I can show you that too. I don't know. Does that work? Can I just sort of switch screens, or is that hard? Actually, well, never mind. That's just a finder. But so normally I have just a finder window, basically with some sounds, usually some beats, some stuff that I may have made on the modular, and I sort of start sketching something. I was sort of listening earlier today to these two sort of stems that I made from my Matrix 1000, and I sort of routed the Matrix 1000, a little bass patch on there, through my modular, and sort of saw if I could, create like some sort of new textures or some weird, like sort of, some effect with it. So I have this little section here, and I'm just going to see if I can fit that into a track a little later on, but just so you have an idea of what we're talking about. Is it really loud? So just some different effects. Maybe I should turn off my video. Is that better? Like that? Okay. So that was one of the stems, and then the other one is this one. I think most of the effects you hear is me, is the Matrix 1000, and then through a wasp filter on the modular, as well as the mimeophone that I usually use for kind of like a phasing type of effect, flangers, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I created this. I was sort of going through my sample pack, and then I found this little vocal. I think it's from an interview of David Sylvian, the guy from Japan, and he was talking about space, and especially about space in music. And I thought that might be like a fun sort of theme to work with. So this is the sample.
I think it's the space, the emptiness of it. The spaces are as important as the music itself.
So I used some effects on it. I processed a little bit. So maybe we can use that word space and then sort of get started from there. Let me see if I can sort of slice that real quick for you.
I think it's the space.
So this is the word space, right?
Space. Space.
Okay.
Space.
I like that.
Space.
That's going to be my, I'm going to make a riff out of this. Let me put that in the sampler.
space.
Okay. Take a look. We can sort of map it over all the notes on the keyboard. Let's make it mono so we don't play everything on top of each other. Oop, there you go.
Space.
Let's do something with that. So
Space.
okay, metronome. All right. It's a bit loud, but we'll fix all of that later. A little bit of delay on the top. My sort of go-to delays is usually stuff from sound toys like Echo Boy or a couple of those like funny sort of delays. Maybe make it 16th. All right. Are we good on the latency and stuff, or is it a bit too slow, maybe? All good? Yeah? Okay, good. All right. Okay, so I wanted to do something with this little vocal. So that the idea is maybe to do more like sort of garagey kind of beat and then have this vocal on the top with some sort of bass sounds that are sort of, you know, filling up the space basically between these vocals. That was kind of the main idea that I sort of thought about earlier today. Let me see. Master is clipping. Can turn that down like that. Just turn it up in the studio a bit. Like that. All right. Hope this is a little bit better. Let's make a beat. I was sort of going through my sample pack, and usually I start building beats just in audio. And I had a whole bunch of loops from older tracks, but also some stuff from other people. Let me see. You'll have to turn down the gain before the signal hits the audio movers plugin. So maybe on the master channel rather than on the output like this, maybe? Is that a little bit better? All right, let's see how we do from here on. Okay, so I had a few samples from older tracks of mine, as well as some stuff from other songs and from sample packs and stuff. So I was just gonna play some of those so you can kind of hear and get a feel of what we're working with. I have this one, this little rim shot. This is all different tempos, by the way. This is something from an older track. Then I had another beat from an older track. Some claps. old, I think from some reggae sound pack or whatever. This is an old Dilla beat that you probably know. And I kind of like the kick drum from this, so maybe that will be a nice start. So I'm just going to sort of slice a little bit and sort of see if I can come up with something. I picked 138 as the tempo. I kind of like that because anytime you go sort of over 140, I just have the tendency to either make something that sounds very urgent or rushed, or something that's half step. But for some reason, it's kind of hard to make something quite funky, sort of over 140. I mean, I don't mind sort of making something a little bit slower and then playing it faster, but just, when you're sort of listening to the music over and over again for a couple hours, you just want to have a fine, nice tempo that sort of works. So I'm just going to use that 138 for now. And let's see if we can sort of extract this little kick drum right here. Which is sitting right there, right? So we're going to use this kick drum. Take a look and get rid of this. Like that. All right. See, there's some other instruments that might be useful later on when we're making our beat. So I'm just going to slice that real quick, sort of by hand, kind of rough, but I can always sort of move it, on the grid a little bit. That's kind of nice. Okay, let's get rid of this for now. I'll make a new audio channel where we're going to be constructing our thing. So this is how I sort of work quite a lot. I sort of keep the slices kind of like as a palette on one of the channels, and then I can sort of copy paste them on a brand new channel in the right order. So for example, in this case, let me see. I really like that sort of kick drum. So I'm just going to put that here. Oops. Like that. Okay. So I'll keep that muted, and then this is going to be my sort of work space. See, metronome. Let's just make a little beat here. Okay. Put some kick drums on the one. Okay. Let's see what else we have. We had these little rim shots. Okay. Rim shot 1. Here, I think. Okay. I'm going to put that one here. Okay. I'm just going to layer those sounds with something else a little bit later on. This needs some fading. Like that. I like all that sort of, background noise that sort of brings the beat, gives it a little bit more life. Let's see what else we had in these slices. Is there something else that could be useful? Use some of those little ghost notes for something. Maybe layer them like that. See what happens. Okay. sounds fairly decent. See what else we have. Kind of like that little but it might be a bit rough to use that. Let me see. Maybe. See if we can sort of fit that in somewhere. Might be a bit harder because of the tempo, because it's a completely different tempo. But let's see. Not bad. Maybe here. Right. That sort of rim shot is a little bit weak. So you might have to look for a different rim shot or something to layer it with. I think that reggae loop that we had could be interesting for that. Let me see. Okay, take a look what we have here. I think there's some like solid sort of rim shots. Yeah. Those are kind of nice. This one maybe? Okay. Still good on the audio and stuff? Very scary, this streaming business. Okay. See what we have. Maybe. All right. So what I do sometimes is change the pitches of some of the rim shots. So, you know, again, to sort of create a beat that has a little bit more life to it. Let's see what it sounds like if we layer those two. Okay, so what if we take that same rim shot, but then pitch it down a little bit for the other note? This is just like a super simple pitch shifter. That's just because I'm lazy. You can also just process it, but kind of subtle. All right, not bad. See what happens with our space.
Space.
Let's copy this, make it twice as long for now. Usually what I do is I just bounce all this stuff when I'm kind of happier with it and then sort of build arrangement around it. But for now, we can just sort of use these little audio snippets.
Space.
It just needs like a little bit of tempo here. Maybe we can sort of double up this in some way. I don't know what that sounds like, but okay.
Space.
Okay, I need to sort this out a little bit. Hold on. See what happens if you do this. I'm kind of like loosely putting it on the grid, but not too sort of tight.
Space.
Could be something. I just muted the rim shots here, so this stuff has a little bit more space. Now I'm just going to sort of line it up on the grid a tiny little bit more. And then hopefully that sort of gives us a bit of a groove. Okay. Okay. This one needs to be turned down a little bit. That one rim shot is a bit too high for me. Sort of add a little bit of reverb to one of the rim shots just to give it a bit more, you know, a little bit more decay. And then the decay can sort of help sort of tie this beat together a little bit so it doesn't sound like it comes from all these different sources. It definitely needs some toughening up. Like we need some power beats. Maybe we can use that snare and then just sort of make it really snappy. This one. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that. Okay. Now this needs to be super snappy, so it doesn't really sound like a snare, but sounds more like another rim shot that sort of sits on the top. Like that, maybe. Maybe I just want to make this a little bit shorter. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's good. I like that. That second one is sitting a little bit late, but that kind of gives it a nice sort of variation. Okay. Okay. It's decent. Could be better, but we can sort of fix that up. Let's see what else we have. We had that one. This one can go for me. Don't really need that. Now we have some more like little bits and bobs here. Okay. We need some hi-hats. That's what we need. This one I'm going to use. That could still be handy for a little bit later, but let's take a look at this little loop. And then see if we can line up some stuff with that kick drum. See, that already sounds a bit nicer with that one on the top. Okay, so let's slice this one. Like that. Okay. Oh, sorry. So sometimes when I'm doing sort of audio slicing, I play around a little bit with the delay. So you can kind of like nudge a whole channel forward or backwards a little bit. And sometimes, you know, when you sort of layer different sounds, it might make a little bit more sense to do that to sort of get like a different effect. Another thing that I do a lot is just sort of EQ certain frequencies out. So for example, if you have two kicks and they're sort of sitting on top of each other, they're sort of inhabiting the same sort of frequencies. So what you can do is, for example, take one of the kick drums and then roll off all the lower frequencies. I kind of like this low better than this one. Let me see. It just doesn't have that much low anyway. So maybe make this more like sort of the top. And then, okay. You kind of merge it together by sort of giving it space in, you know, in different frequencies. It doesn't have to be that low. Like that. Feels more like gel together. This one needs a little bit less on the low end as well. Like that. I like this lower rim shot a little bit better, so I'm just going to move these here. All right. Decent. What I want to do now is sort of group some of this this beat stuff and sort of see what it sounds like if I sort of start processing a little bit together. So for example, these kick drums can go together on a single bus. So let's put that on bus 1, like that. And then let's see. These other guys can go on bus 2. Okay. And so now hopefully I can sort of control both buses. One will be the kick drums and the other one would be the sort of mid-range. Turn them both down a little bit. Something that makes the beats a little bit snappier usually is Bittersweet is a little plugin that I use quite a lot, which is kind of like an enveloper, and it can sort of like exaggerate the attacks of the samples a little bit and then cut down the decay. So I'll do that on just the rim shots. Like that. I also like to add RX 950 on most of my stuff when it comes to beats. It just sort of gives it a little bit more crunch. See what we have. See now Where's that reverb? There's a little bit of reverb here that may be a bit too much now. Okay. Now, what about the kick drums? I like this kick drum much better than the other one. Maybe I'll either turn this down a little bit or let me think. Maybe a bit better. Okay. We need some hi-hats. Thing is a bit too sludgy. Let's see. I had a few interesting ones. Let me see if I can pull those up real quick. Oh yeah, here we go. This should be 138 as well. I want to move these forward a little bit too static. This one. Right? A little bit better. Do that for the other ones as well. Yeah. Okay. Let's use some MIDI. I have a little sampler here, the ESX24. That could be good for this. Let me see. Okay. We need some hi-hats. These are not hi-hats. Probably better. Okay. Shall I just draw it in real quick? Easier, I guess. Okay. Let's let me think. I could do like a little edit at the end maybe. So just copy this one. Not that. Okay. See what we have. Maybe not this one. Okay. So we have a beat. We have that sort of little riff with the vocal. Maybe we don't need that. Maybe it needs a little bit more pulse on the kick drums. Like I do like these little. Maybe we'll just copy these four and then sort of. Yeah, like that. And then we just turn them down a little bit so it doesn't feel so stompy. Then put an extra one here. Oops. Okay. Not good. This needs to be like that. Alright, coming together. Right? I hope. Let's see what we had on the bass front. Kind of by accident, but it could work. Let's just keep that here. And then This is, I think, a little higher note. Okay. Let's organize this a little bit. All the beats can go up like that. Baseline stays here. I'll just make that red real quick so I can remember what is what. Like that. All the highs. Be a different color. And then this is my kick drum action. And then all the way at the top, I have my my riff. Okay. Mess. I'll just use a fade tool to like that. See what this bass line sounds like. This is just like raw audio, so it might be a bit weird. Clean that up a little bit. This is where that rim shot sits, so maybe that could be nice to have that sort of coincide. Let me see. Just glue this together. Not too awful. This one wasn't working, so that can go. This one wasn't working, so that can go. All right. Maybe some musical element to sort of add to it. I had some sort of little stabs. Let me see if I can find some for you. Bring some noise in as well that I can layer onto something. Like that. Let's see. Make that twice as long. We'd use like a little bit of, you know, we have the bass line. The bass line is basically a note at the beginning, and then it sort of like fills out the bar. But here is space. So maybe we can do something with that space. I think I have like a little drop bass sound somewhere. Must have something. Sub bass or something. What's it called again? Sub bass. What does this do? Yeah. Okay. Just to sort of get the note placement. Oops. That's not what it's supposed to do. Okay, here we go again. See if that works. Oops, too fast. Okay, pitch it down. A bit longer. Elements. See if I can quickly find a little stab. Or what we can do is maybe use the FM1. That kind of has a nice little stabby type sounds in it as well. Let's do that. Something like that. Let me see if that. That last one is a bit weird, but maybe it just needs that one in the beginning.
Space.
Lower one, that could be cool. Like an octave lower on this one. Maybe another one here. One more kick. I like these kicks. There should be another one somewhere here. Let's see. So I have my beat, bass sounds. But all these sort of little sounds sort of fall into the beat. Like every time there's nothing in the beat happening, like no hits, you can sort of add like these little sounds, and then you sort of create like a little bit of a groove that sort of talks to each other in a way. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but don't need that first one. See, I always end up just sort of muting a lot of stuff again after I sort of built it, because you want to sort of make it as open as you can. Maybe if I sort of exaggerate that echo boy here, you know, it sort of like takes up a little bit more room on the bar. Let me see. Maybe change that. No, echo time is good. Feedback. Maybe once every while we can do that little high one just for fun. So let's make it 2 bars, not do it there. Okay. All right. Now our song is what? 13 seconds long. We're getting there. I need some more hi-hats, but I can do that later. Just checking real quick if I have something that resembles like a nice little other melodic element. Let's make another MIDI channel. And I have some stuff in my sampler. I always kind of keep a lot of those sounds that I reuse a lot. So maybe there's something there that we can use. Let's see. Most of this is just like old stuff. That's nice, but not really for this song, I think. This one. Let me think what we can do to this. Maybe use. Not too sure about this, but let's see. Maybe you can sit with that bass sound. Is that an idea or not really? Something like that. Bass line off. Let's sort of group these bass sounds into another bus as well, just so we have some more control. Like that. Okay. Bass sound. These are a bit too loud. So the stab doesn't really work with the bass, so you can only sort of use it separate from each other, but that's fine. I would like another hi-hat, just because I love hi-hats. Let me see if I can quickly find one from an older track that I really like. Let's see. Something like that. Just to give it like a bit more of a rolling character. Maybe just turn it really. Oh, not that last part. Might have to alter that a little bit, but see if it sits nicely with that other one. How does that sound? It's very quiet on the chat. I don't know if that's good or bad. But just sort of, to sort of give you an idea of how I sort of quickly sort of slice some beats. I try to sort of stay away from too much sort of affecting and all that kind of stuff, or, just sort of letting the sound do the work, and only sort of shaping it a little bit with some EQing or, stuff like the RX 950 or something. But I don't want to sort of go just really deep into sort of affecting just yet. I also like to sort of organize everything. So now I basically have my sort of 3 buses. I have my kick drums, then mid-range, and then my bass. So normally I sort of organize everything into these sort of buses, so I have control over all the elements. And then once I start mixing, I can sort of level all those different elements first instead of going channel by channel, which takes a very long time. And so by sort of leveling all the elements first, I get like a basic mix done that sounds like reasonable. And then you can sort of go a little bit deeper maybe and fine tune it. But I do like to sort of group stuff together all the time, just because it just makes it easier to control everything, before you have like 50 channels and you don't know where to start to sort of get this thing to sound good. But in this case, you can sort of, with like 5 or 6 buses, you can sort of have a little bit of an overview of what you're doing. Let me see, there were some questions. Yeah, all this stuff is like either stuff that I made myself. I do a lot of like sort of processing, recording, sampling from vinyl, and then processing those, rather than sort of trying to stick with too many sort of standard sounds. A lot of stuff comes also from other tunes, because once they're in another tune, they're mixed there, they're processed there, and then once I sort of bounce them, they're basically already different sounding than how they came out of a sample pack or whatever. And so it just sort of personalizes all the sounds a little bit. Like for example, that sort of David Sylvian thing. That sort of came from, I don't know, some YouTube video, and then I threw it through the modular and sort of added effects to it, and then I kind of like forgot about it basically, up until today, where I was like, maybe that's a good like little hook to sort of start working on the track with. And so that's kind of how I usually sort of put something together. And once I have this sort of basic sketch, this sort of 20-second thing, what I usually do is sort of start bouncing stuff into sort of longer audio files again, just by doing stuff like this. Let me see if I can show you. Oops. Wait. I guess it doesn't want to let me do that now. I don't know why. Oh, it's on fade maybe. Oh, you have to sort of bounce it in place, so you get like a I guess you can do the same thing in Ableton, I think. They're not doing that. Weird. Okay. Anyway, you can sort of bounce it to one sort of big audio file, and then it's a little bit more controllable once you start arranging stuff. So usually I sort of end it here. This is a good sort of hour work, which is kind of nice. And then after that hour, can sort of save it and then come back to it another day to start building it into like a little sketch, maybe like a 2-3 minute thing where I kind of like explain the track. Like usually what I do is when I'm sort of making it, I just have it on loop a lot and sort of start building a little bit of a story with it. For example, I could sort of start with, say, just the dry kicks and the rim shot, and then with that sort of space sound over the top. Add the hi-hats in the next section. Then something like that. And then sort of drop it maybe without that space sound, and then the bass. Extra hi-hats. Just that one. Yeah. Something like that, right? So you kind of like build a quick story of maybe a minute or something. And then I just sort of copy paste all the elements so that that story is being told, and then I can sort of revisit it later. Sort of start fine-tuning, getting all the sort of elements to sit right and all that, and add effects and things like that, right? So in the beginning, I just want to sort of get a little bit of the music done and sort of not worry too much about how it sounds. Most of the time, I kind of know what kind of sounds I'm looking for, and so that's just enough sort of base material to actually make it sound good eventually, hopefully. But yeah, that's kind of how I sort of set up a track pretty quick. I just need like 3 things that are an idea together, like a little riff, a bass sound, and a beat idea, or like a little sequence. That's just enough to sort of let me sort of carry on with the track. Yeah. Does that make sense? Any other, I don't know if there's any questions or anything you want to discuss, talk about? Let's see. When it comes to developing beyond that initial minute or so, do you have any good techniques for building ideas out into a longer track? Yeah, like most of the time, if you have sort of a main riff, you have a bass line, and you have a couple beat ideas. As you can see, when I was sort of doing the beat, I'm always looking for more percussion lines because I always try to have at least 4 or 5 different lines of percussion that I can sort of alternate throughout the track. And even if sort of nothing else happens in the track and it feels quite monotonous, just by sort of switching on and off these different percussion lines, it just sort of gives the track a little bit more longevity, and it still feels like it's exciting to listen to, rather than just having the same thing over and over on loop. You know, like if I would be sort of in this particular phase, and I would have these sort of 20 seconds of song, I would maybe make like 3-4 more percussion lines, not necessarily to have them all playing at once, but just so I have some sort of ammo basically for later on in the track, like maybe a shaker or something, or I could sort of double up the rim shots with another sound, you know, just to sort of give it a sort of extra kind of snap. Or you know, I'll make a version where maybe the rim shots, let me see, these rim shots, like those that you let me see, you know, you make them, you put like a sort of a filter on it like this, you know, something like that, that can sort of be layered under the regular rim shot, just to sort of give it like a little bit more story in the beats. Not necessarily that you notice that when you're on the sort of dance floor, but it just gives you a few more sort of variations that you can use throughout the tune. And that's especially interesting when your riff is not changing, or you're not doing that much in terms of filtering or modulation or whatever, or automation, you know, when you automate your filters. But if you just want to keep it quite clean, then sort of alternating percussion helps a lot. Let me see. Did you create that beat out just like that, or do you use usually other rhythmic inspiration, or do you use your sampled loops for that? I mean, this was just sort of off the bat, basically. I mean, I don't know, like I've made a lot of beats already in my sort of lifetime. And usually, you know, that's also why I like sort of working with a sound before I start doing beats. Because, you know, once I'm sort of listening to a riff like this one with the sort of vocal, and I choose a tempo, you know, in this case, 138 is a really nice tempo to work with, then, you know, I already have like a few variations in my head of like beats and, you know, like sort of drum kick and snare patterns that I can make. And so if I want to do something a little bit more uplifting, I could sort of go the garage route. If I want to do something more steady, where it's more about developing the sounds, then I would go 4/4. You know, I just have like a couple tools that I use. But it's not really that I'm sort of copying patterns from other sources. It's just that, you know, you just let the music kind of do the talking and sort of imagine almost what the beat could sound like over the top, right? And by just sort of starting with a little kick pattern, and then sort of building a little beat on top of that, it helps a lot, like this. Then you just sort of fill out all the space in the beat with other elements, right? So that's kind of how I usually sort of build it, I guess. I hope that made sense. How would you go about building a breakdown from the beat? Depends. I mean, you know, I always I have to get to the sort of arrangement of the track first before I decide to even have a breakdown. That's something that I've sort of been talking about a lot in the mentoring, is that I think that breakdowns are kind of overused quite a lot. Most sort of like loopy kind of tracks don't really need a breakdown, in my opinion. And sometimes a track is, you know, just sort of centered around a certain theme, but that theme needs to be really, really strong for it to warrant a breakdown, you know, where all the music kind of like is muted and you just have that one sound in there, right? And so I think I try to sort of stay away from breakdowns. I must say, when I started playing live a bunch of years ago, I noticed how almost every track that I, you know, when you play like 15 tracks of your own in an hour, I noticed every single track had a breakdown, and it just pissed me off hugely, because every time, you know, the dance floor would be standing still again because there was a breakdown. And so I started to literally delete all my breakdowns in the live set. just to have sort of more continuity and sort of keep it going a little bit more, and only keep the breakdowns in the tracks that were really like monumental, or like big tunes that people know, where you can sort of extend that breakdown into like a little moment. But apart from that, I think most tracks, it's much nicer to just sort of keep it going, and it also gives it a bit more longevity, I find, because I find that a lot of the tracks that I love playing for years and years are the ones without the breakdowns that I can sort of, kind of like move into any set that I want. And so, yeah, so I'm very wary of doing too many breakdowns or too long. You want to sort of keep momentum going in the track most of the time. And so, yeah, so I try not to do that too much. But obviously, if you sort of listen to my back catalog, you'll find a lot of breakdowns there. But yeah, I'm trying to better my life, basically. Anyone else? No more questions? All good? All right. Hope you enjoyed it. And hope it started to make sense a little bit in the end. And yeah, I think that was my story. I think they have an archive so you can watch it back.